I've wanted to talk about AI for a long time, and I
Okay. Alright. Well, it is I haven't even started the stream and everything is all over the place. So basically, I haven't eaten dinner yet. I'm gonna eat dinner. I've got pizza here. We're gonna watch a video from Jazza because I have been wanting to watch this video for a couple of days now. And I wanted to watch it on stream. So we're gonna do that. I'm still getting set up here. but how's everyone doing? Hope we're having a good Sunday. Hope you can hear me all right. Everything's still a mess over here. Oh goodness. Okay. Video's called I Was Wrong About AI, and basically it's a video about AI art and his opinions on it, and I wanted to watch this because I obviously have opinions on AI art, quote unquote. I hesitate to call it art, but you know, that's just me, my opinion, I guess. And I am curious to hear from someone who's, you know, a professional artist and who has had opinions on AI that I did not agree with in the past. So I'm curious to hear how his opinion has changed and what he has to say. And that's really it. So we're gonna do this while I eat my pizza, and then I still don't really know what we're doing tonight. It's Sunday. I said I'd stream every Sunday. Here I am. Can you tell I don't know what I'm doing? Cool, let's go. Here we are. And we are going to get right into it. I'm actually gonna move this here. And hello, how are you? Hope you're having a good night. It's been a burger with a side of chow mein sometime. Okay, that's an interesting combo. Hold on. I'm not sure I've heard that combination before, but I'm interested. Okay, let's see. We good to go? Should be. Hope we are.
I haven't quite known how. My last attempt was unclear and dwelt very rigidly in the grey area. And in the months following the release of that video, I've come to realize and accept that there really isn't much of a place for a grey area in this conversation anymore. So right up front, loud and clear, let me say that I am against the use of generative AI in the production of art and content. And I want to also clearly pledge that I and my team will be committed to producing art and content without the use of the products that I have ever released or sold have.
Is that like a serious suggestion? Because I genuinely have never heard that combination before. And I've actually never, I don't know if I've ever had chow mein. I've had a burger. But I don't know if I've had chow mein.
Ever used or touched AI at any stage in their production. They have been painstakingly handmade by me and my team over the years.
Fair. That's fair. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a bit of a non-adventurous eater. We'll say that. I don't like to say picky eater because I think that's an unfair characterization. But I am not the most adventurous eater, so I do tend to stick to my sort of safe foods. But I definitely respect having a different side for your meals. It's good to be non-conventional every now and again.
to empower artists. In that vein, I'm having a sale for the next 3 weeks, 50% off of all digital products on the jazzstudios.com shop. To be frank, this sale is motivated by the fact that I and my staff are taking a break over the holiday period, but we all still have bills to pay, so it's a big discount that supports your artistic journey and supports my human studio and team. It's a win-win. So why did it take me so long to say that I'm against generative AI in art? I mean, it does feel kind of late for that sort of statement, right? Like, especially to those who have been vehemently against generative AI since its proliferation. Well, let me take you on the journey, because my views have changed drastically. And as a techno enthusiast and early adopter, I have been watching and involved in AI art since before, I'm gonna say, most of you watching this. I started playing with AI in art almost 10 years ago, and in content on this channel with the early release of Google's AI clip art experiment. In 2019, I got very excited and amused by what were essentially the capabilities of AI art tech demos, rudimentary and broken at best. And in the following years, I kept my eye on AI because I was really interested in this new intersection of art and technology. Then in 2022, DALL-E 2 came out, and that's when AI started to gain the attention of the wider public. It was still
Like, even I can admit that there were moments early on where I was like, it's like fun to play around with. It's fun to like type in a thing and see like what can come up, I guess, but it lost its novelty very quickly. Grilled cheese with a slice of pickle in it. I think that makes sense though. Like, cause like grilled cheese. I don't know. I don't know why that makes sense to me, actually. I don't know why that actually makes sense. That makes sense to me though. Grilled cheese with a pickle in it makes sense to me. I can see how that would work. But yeah, there were times early on where it was like, this is fun, but then it lost its novelty, and now it's just like, why is this a thing? Why are we still here? Can we move on from this AI jungle?
still very rough around the edges, but at the time it really showed a lot of potential. This was the golden year of AI art, simply because the novelty was compelling, but it still wasn't good enough to feel threatening or make anyone uncomfortable. And later that year, ChatGPT released in November, and that sealed the deal. The Pandora's box of AI was open, and the conversation around AI and the ethics attached to it would become very complex very quickly. Now, first, both as a content creator and an artist, I was still very excited by AI in art and possibilities, both for content creation and for what it was capable of empowering artists and myself to do. And in the now removed video in December of 2022, I shared my then stance on AI art. This is hard to watch.
So here's my current opinion. I believe AI art is art. I believe AI art is intertwined with the future of art as a whole. I think it is meaningful and useful to use AI as an art-making machine, because art makes people think, makes people feel, and helps people talk about and engage about the human experience.
I think it's safe to say I had a very different stance on AI then than I do now. A week or two after releasing that video, I began to notice protests on art websites like DeviantArt and ArtStation, which were specifically protesting.
Like, OpenAI is not even open or for public. Yeah. I try to have like a somewhat nuanced opinion on this, because for me, I'm just kind of very much against it. I'm like, I try not to use it myself these days. I try not to encourage the use of it. And so but like, if you're using it because of, certain environmental effects, and then there's like, if you're using it in your own home and you're not like selling the art or doing anything like that, like at that point it's like I can't really police what you're doing in your own home, and that's getting really into the weeds on that kind of thing. But I do think we'd be better off without generative AI and these sort of models like that, because it's having an adverse effect on society. We were not ready for the internet, and we're not ready for generative AI.
Testing AI art appearing and having equal floor space on these websites as human-made art. And that was just the beginning. Following a lawsuit in January of the next year, filed by 3 artists in a lawsuit against Stability AI, Midjourney, and DeviantArt, claiming that their work was used to train datasets without permission. But from this point onwards, generative AI continued to become more competent and to invade more spaces that were established for humans to share art, and thus began the great AI art divide. The black and white that I highlighted in my very grey video. Is training generative AI art models theft, or is it just super-powered learning? Can AI artists legitimately be considered to be artists, or are they just self-glorified text prompters? It quickly became clear to me that there were layers of this that I didn't yet understand, especially after having made such a clear stance on it, which is why I removed the video and decided that I wouldn't speak on it again or use AI in videos until I could confidently say something I believed in and I could know why. And years passed. Every month seemed to bring with it a new AI controversy or a shocking announcement of progress or a new model available. And with that, more and more examples that were proving to me that AI was not turning out to be the art elevating thing that I had envisioned it would be, but would instead embolden generative AI art.
I will say, I do respect taking the time to figure out what your opinion is before saying something, because a lot of people want to be quick to market, quick to comment on things, and quick to get their opinion out there. And I can respect someone, especially a content creator, being like, let me hold off, let me take a moment of reflection here and be like I'll give him his props on that, because especially nowadays, and also just having an opinion in general, because we live in a very interesting time where everyone wants to be a centrist despite being not a centrist. But that's a whole other topic.
Apologists against their critics, as well as copious disheartening examples of corporations that would use AI shamelessly or sneakily to advertise their products, including Wacom, which was so gross on so many levels. And they make digital tablets for artists. What are you promoting here? Buy our tablets or don't use our tablets. You don't need to anymore. Oh my god.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't know they did that. That's so like they literally do. They literally make tablets for drawing digital art. Like that was my first tablet, was a Wacom, it's a Wacom or whatever you want to call it. But that's so funny. Cuz at that point, what are you advertising? Just, yeah, buy our tablet and then don't use it to make art. It's so, like, you have, and it's not like you don't have access to artists. I know you do. I know you have access to artists to do that work. You didn't want to pay them. You didn't want to give them money. You wanted to offshore the labor to AI, I guess, and that's what you got. That's crazy. God damn, dude. Oh no.
All that brings me to today. My optimistic view was purely through the lens of my passion for the expansion of creative possibilities. But my opinions have changed over this long journey as I've learned more about how AI art is trained and generated, about the growing negative impact that this race for AI supremacy is having on the economy and the environment, as well as watching in horror as uncreative slop has infested and overtaken algorithms everywhere. There have been a few hints about my shifting views on AI.
That's the part that gets me the most. Like, it is so hard to find good original content these days, I feel like. The algorithm is not helping. Especially on TikTok. Like, I have a fairly unused TikTok account, so I have not spent much time scrolling to give it, you know, an idea of what I want to look at. And the stuff it just suggests me is either random, just it's just the most random shit, or like AI slop. There's no in between. And it's just like, oh, that's what we're doing? That's where we're at? We don't have anything better? You have nothing else to give me? Oh, okay, cool. Because I remember a time when TikTok was really good. Like there was a time when you could find some really interesting people on TikTok, and now it's just like I'm lucky if I find like one or two people, maybe, every now and again. Oh, it's sad. Like, it's sad. There's so much potential here, and it's just being wasted.
In a couple of recent videos, and now I find myself here when 3 years ago I was a vehement advocate for the acceptance of AI art as a tool for artists and the ongoing future of art as a whole. I no longer think or feel about these things the way that I used to, and I want to dive into that. Because AI is more prevalent than ever. There is no escaping it. The world's most valuable and powerful companies are betting all of their chips on this. And with the latest releases of image and video generation models, which as of recording this video are models like Veo 3, Sora 2, and Nano Banana 2, and so on, the impressive power of generative AI is indisputable. Its value and necessity, however, are disputable. And I want to dispute it. Also because I think my disputing it on my platform is an important part of my contributing to keeping this conversation ongoing and open. And if you find yourself on the fence, as I was a year ago, or even pro AI art as I was 3 years ago, I would love to encourage you to watch this video and also be open and share your experience, your thoughts, and your journey in the comments below. Let's get started. The problems with AI have become clearer than ever. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time in this video arguing facts that are supported by evidence and studies that other more intelligent and well-spoken people have already argued. So instead, I will simply state the facts about the problems with AI and link to my sources in the description, which will be from verified journalists or content creators who share their citation. The data centers that we currently have, as well as the massive ones that have promised to be built that are required.
No, you definitely can't watch all of the media we made in one's life. That's for sure. Which is why I want the media that I do watch in my lifetime to be good. And not AI slop. Like, I have a limited amount of time on this planet to consume media, and I would love for the media that I do consume to be good stuff. Yeah, exactly. It's that, and I also just wonder, for future purposes, I mean, however much of a future this planet and society has left, if there are, you know, historians to look back at this time period, with all of the false stuff being put out through AI, how much of that is going to make it into the sort of historic record? Obviously, history is a perspective, basically, anyways. Like, it's told from a it's told from a certain perspective usually. Obviously, there are facts, but you know, depending on who's winning and who gets to tell the aftermath of what happened and that kind of thing. History has a certain lens, but how much of the AI slop is going to be like a part of our history? because of this bullshit. I wonder. I truly wonder. I truly wonder where we are headed here.
To empower AI and generative AI are having a massive detrimental global impact on the environment and on local people's wellness and on the health of nearby populations. AI LLMs like ChatGPT pose potential risks to health and well-being of people that haven't properly been safeguarded against, particularly the mental and psychological safety of youths, which is exacerbated by increased cost of health insurance, psychological therapy, medication, and treatment, which has led to a number of growing cases of what's become known as AI psychosis. Now, if you're looking for articles and studies, they're linked in the description. There's a more entertaining perspective on it provided by Eddie Burback, which, while through a comedic lens, does really effectively highlight risks of confirmation bias and psychosis in AI. Leaning on AI makes you dumber. Particularly noteworthy is this study by MIT, which shows that critical thinking skills of people who consistently use or rely on ChatGPT greatly diminish, which really hints that we're launching ourselves into a domino effect that we haven't even properly had the time to safeguard against, let alone study. AI development.
And honestly, that on top of the fact that I think COVID did a number on a generation of school children. Our critical thinking is at an all-time low. Which feeds back into that whole AI loop again, because you just get people believing things that they see. And it's just, oh, cool, that's awesome, that's great. If humans are pushed out of work for AI, we can profit with AI. Only fair. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather people just not lose their jobs to AI, you know? And people not replace it's so I like things being real. I like things feeling real, okay? I'm sorry. I like it when things feel like they were made by a real human being and I feel a real connection to the piece of art. Call me old school, call me whatever you want to call me, but God forbid.
Is being driven by corporate greed and is being produced largely without guardrails. AI models are created through the theft of human artwork that it's built on and at the cost of the ability for humans to flourish in the fields of that work. AI in art, journalism, or video content is fundamentally based on theft and problematic to the future of these industries. And now we're in a position where AI has flooded most content platforms, many product categories, and information resources, removing opportunities and dividing the economy to favor poor fabrications with capital incentive over independent studios with higher costs and who built the marketplace, which its imposters are standing on the shoulders of. And a lot of these problems apply to the broader definition of publicly accessible AI. But I want to keep this video and the conversation I want to have more focused on generative AI for image, video, audio, and text in terms of content creation. And to keep me from going too far off the rails, I'm going to do this by engaging in a debate with myself 3 years ago, as if I'm responding to my past self's opinions as to why I believe he's wrong based on what I've learned since and what's transpired.
I believe AI art is art because humans are using it and because it is referencing humans. It is built by humans, it is examining and referencing humans, and it is in the hands of humans to use.
No, me from the past, AI is not built by human artists. It's built by software engineers and coders who are largely employed by corporations that are motivated by market competition and capital investments. And at the end of the day, whatever power the AI models are capable of, whatever potential they can reach, is fundamentally built on and empowered by the hard work of the human originators of the data that it's trained on, which was gathered without consent and without disclosure. I believe AI art is built on the back of the stolen work of human creators and
Yeah. Yeah. Or I just have to consume. I mean, as long as it's available, there is, I guess, older stuff that isn't AI influenced, but that's only going to be available as long as it's archived. And they love to not archive that stuff these days. So who knows? Who knows how long we have? No, it's great. It's awesome.
Is primed for the exploitation of copyrighted characters, intellectual property, celebrities, and public figures. If you want to argue that AI art isn't built on theft and isn't a damaging force, then, well, please do so with Martin Luther King's daughter, who, if you can imagine, has had the horrific displeasure of seeing AI-generated videos that mock, belittle, and taint her father's legacy.
I had a dream that we are not judged by the color of our skin, but by the clarity of our diamond. And shout.
Bro. Oh my god. Someone had to sit down. Someone had to sit down at their computer for an extended period of time and type in however many prompts or whatever to create this. And at no time during that period did they think, maybe this isn't a good idea. At no time did at no time did they think, maybe this is crossing some line. Oh, yep. Yeah.
Martin Luther King. Hell. Even if you can somehow convince her, you'll be hard-pressed to convince the plaintiffs of major lawsuits, both settled and ongoing, centered around the endless plagiarism enabled by these models. But regardless of whether or not AI art is built on theft, can it still be called art? Be valued as art? Is an AI artist truly an artist? Because they argue that their input shaped the outcome, therefore they are the artists. This misses a pretty fundamental point about art, which is also pretty hard to encapsulate or represent.
Good night. Thanks for hanging out. Hope to see you around. Enjoy your movie.
Because art isn't art because it has achieved a certain technical outcome. It's art because it's a reflection of us. It pushes our own abilities, our own confidence. It allows us to connect to one another and to a deeper level than we can do without art. Art is valuable because we, as humans, value the humanity in the story of art. The journey innate in the art and everything that went into making it, that led to it being made, and why. I'm going to illustrate with an example from my own experience. Now, I make a lot of content. It's my job, but also at my core, I'm an artist. So my motivation is to create things that I'm passionate about in the videos I produce. At every possible opportunity, I try and incorporate art and my passion and motivations into my content. But on very rare occasions, I make art that I don't make for YouTube views or subscribers.
Thank you. It is a good pizza.
Earlier this year, I spent weeks on an oil painting for my wife's birthday. It's a recreation of one of her favorite photos of her favorite horse in a sweet moment interacting with our son. I didn't film creating this piece because that wasn't my motivation. My motivation was to create something that I knew I would be proud to give her, and in which I could push myself to the limits of my personal abilities to give my wife something that she loves. That's harder than it sounds because I have painted a painting for her before. I did try and hit two birds with one stone, admittedly, and make content with it too. This is about like 8, 9, 12 years ago. She was honest enough to tell me that she didn't really like it. She's a straight shooter. She's an honest critic. Hey, do you want to come check this out? My wife has stepped in. Tell me if they look similar.
That's pretty good.
Not bad?
That's pretty
How's that
good,
review?
especially for your oil painting skills, which are mediocre at best.
Got him. No, but like that is my other main issue with AI art as a concept, as a idea. Art is supposed to be a culmination of you and your efforts and what you have done to make it to that point. To create something, you know, whether that be a painting, a sculpture, or whatever. And so when you use AI to just kind of sidestep all of that, it's just what part of it is you? What part of it has you in it, other than, I guess, you typing in what you want to see? I don't think that's the same level of input, the same level of influence that one would have if they were creating it with their own two hands. So that's the other thing. It's just the barrier to make art is so low, the barrier of entry is so low that you literally just need a piece of paper and something to write with. Or you just need something, some substance to make a piece of art out of. And it's so low that and it's just, you don't have to be good. You don't have to be good. You don't have to be a fantastic artist. You don't have to be a professional or anything like that for it to have value. And so it is more of a philosophical, I guess, question and like aspect to all of this, but it is something that I'm like, I really do hate this about it, because it takes the human aspect, it takes the art out of I guess art. It takes the part of it that makes it art to me out of it. And that's sad. Like that's disappointing. And that's why I don't connect with the AI stuff that's been put out, or I don't necessarily enjoy it, because it just doesn't feel like art. Without getting super pretentious and being like, oh, what is art, and you know, all that stuff. I'm not someone who is like crazy about that kind of thing. Like, you have people who are like who don't like modern art and that kind of thing for whatever reason. I think that basically anything can be art as far as I'm concerned. So I'm more liberal in that application of the word, but what I don't think can be art is AI slop. That's where I draw the line, folks. It's like yeah, I can accept modern art, but I draw the line at AI slop.
The point is, I really wanted her to like this painting. I poured my heart into it, and I stayed up late and I fought for time to work on it, and when she saw it, she wept with joy. And not just because she considered it to be technically good, but because she knew that I put everything into it. She knew that it was the best painting I had ever made, and I made it for an audience of one. I made it for her, and about something that I knew she cared about. And she knew I cared about making it my absolute best. She knows how little time I have outside of work, and whatever time I do have, I usually dedicate to our family. So she knew I would have had to work my guts out to make something just for her. Here is the same photo, recreated artistically through various AI models. The results vary in technical output and stylistic interpretation. Some people might consider some of these better than the one I made. But are they art? No, I cannot truly believe that any of them are truly art. Sure, they can be referred to as an artwork on the surface level, but there is no prompt that can replace my artwork and the context and the emotional impact that gives it its meaning. Even the quality and technical outcome has value based on the context of my skill and creative journey and limitations. To further illustrate,
Yes, yeah, like all of that, just all of that. I don't know a better way to put it except what he just said. It's just it's art is it's a culmination of you. It's a culmination of your skills. It's a culmination of your abilities, and it's a culmination of your efforts and your in your experiences and your influences and all sorts of stuff. And it's just AI doesn't have that. It doesn't have lived life experience. It doesn't have time spent training. It doesn't have the imperfections that come along with a human making a piece of art. I mean, it has that, but not necessarily in the way that, like, it can make mistakes, but it doesn't, but it's not like how a human makes mistakes.
here's another example. This is Princess Mononoke. This is also Princess Mononoke, generated by AI. Anyone who thinks that this AI-generated Princess Mononoke is better than this frame from the original motion picture animation Princess Mononoke is leaning on a perspective that is void of empathy, context, or technical understanding. See, Princess Mononoke was revolutionary, a blockbuster animation that challenged Disney's dominance, tackled nuanced and complex moral themes in a medium that, up until that point, was hardly seen as anything other than children's content. The AI Princess Mononoke is 100% unoriginal, derived from someone else's design and generated from a foundation of other human artists' hard work for which they were not credited or compensated, and the result is technically flawed and uninteresting. Worst of all, it strips the original character of her soul simply to reimagine her as a sexualized pin-up girl with come-hither eyes. A comparison like this completely misses the point of art and ignores the context of a single frame out of over 144,000 hand-drawn and hand-colored frames of animation cells that make up the whole piece of art, which is Princess Mononoke, the revolutionary animated film, which must also be appreciated within the context of the limitations and the era in which it was created, for the same reason that this and this and this must always be considered groundbreaking, not because of how the outcome compares to what you can fart out in your spare time on Midjourney or Sora 2, but because of the genuine revolutionary impact these artworks have had on art and technology and society as a whole. Producing AI art no more makes you an artist than playing Call of Duty makes you a soldier. Something is missing. And after all that, if you still disagree, I'll just point out that AI agrees with me. This is Google's AI definition of what art is. Art is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. And based on that definition and the previous examples that I provided, I hope it's clear to you now why I believe that AI art is not art.
Just because a majority of uses of this will be people giggling and going on DALL-E 2 or Stable Diffusion and writing a hot dog wearing a mustache in a stadium doesn't mean that people won't be creating really compelling, thought-provoking, or inspiring things.
Oh God, this one aged poorly. I have yet to see a single piece of genuinely compelling or inspiring AI content, let alone art. Artists become artists through work and time and the...
Because it's all slop. It's all slop. It's all slop. Slop is literally the perfect word to describe it. Because that's exactly what it is. There is no Like, there's no good piece of, like, AI art out there. You can't convince me. You can't convince me that there's a good piece of generative AI art out there that has been made purely by AI and prompts, okay? I'm not gonna get into tools that use AI or that kind of thing because I think that's a little bit more of a complicated topic and one that requires a little bit more of a case by case analysis. But AI generative AI, no, no, has not made a good piece of art, and I don't think it ever will. I don't think it will. She doesn't have it in her. She can't do it. She can't pull it off. All she can do is make fake memes of, I don't even know. All she can do is make stupid political ads. Like, where people are using AI in political ads. Like, that's where we're at. That shouldn't be allowed. I don't know. I don't know what has to happen for people to realize that that's insane. You can just make your political opponent say literally anything, and people will believe it. People will see it and go, oh, wow, I can't believe that they said that. And it's like, they didn't. They never did. That's fake. You got duped.
The ability to absorb criticism, and through developing a respect for the understanding of the process, that becoming an artist isn't about the destination, it's about your commitment to the journey. And what I really just didn't understand at the time of my previously held beliefs in AI art is that the technology is inherently appealing to people who do not respect or appreciate the journey to becoming an artist.
Yes. This is a huge thing. Because who do you see using AI art the most? It's right-wingers. It's conservatives. It's people who are like, we don't need art degrees. We don't need the arts. You know, like, go get a trade job. You know, it's people like that. People who do not care at all or have any value for art. And they are the ones who will use AI art time and time and time again to push out slop, to push out racist slop at that. Racist, bigoted slop, especially during elections. And it's so annoying. It's so because they are the people who have no respect for art, who have no respect for artists, who have no value for artists. I did a video about AI art, and I will say, and go watch it if you want to support me. But it's not as good as Jazz's video here. But it is just basically my version of Jazz's video, made very poorly. But it's very much the same sentiment, and just how the people who use AI art are usually people who don't respect artists, who don't have any value for art, and are like, no, it's, you know, like, I can make art now too. And it's like, the reason you never made art before is because you never cared enough to try. You never cared enough to put yourself out there, to put yourself to work, to gain the skill to make art. And so now that you have the accessible, easy sort of, let's do AI art, yay, way to go, you just get to do that bullshit instead of having to actually work towards becoming an artist. And these people would never work towards becoming an artist because they don't respect artists to begin with. It's just a self-feeding loop. It's so frustrating. Because the people who suffer are people who actually like art and have to deal with the oversaturation of just AI slop and bullshit from people who don't care about art to begin with. And I'm not saying that there aren't some people who value art and use AI, but I think that honestly, if you truly value art, if you truly respect art and truly have a sort of reverence for just making art and people who do make art, I think that you probably don't use AI very often. I could be wrong, but that's my guess.
As a result, people who have developed their skills or appreciation for art forms have moved away from the technology, while the people who are tempted by shortcuts and who are eager to claim ownership of outcomes they have not earned or do not even understand on a technical level are eager to embrace it wholeheartedly. So in reality, me from the past, this hasn't led to the elevation of ideas or of art as a whole, rather the debasement of it. The fact is, the algorithms that are the foundation of social media platforms create financial incentives that are geared towards rewarding the shock value or money-making capabilities of content output. This is not a motivation for artists who are committed to a journey of pursuing and creating art, because pain is a part of the process. They've learned it by being on that journey. It does, however, motivate corporations and businesses that want to cut costs and individuals who want a shortcut to profit or attention or validation. And AI has provided an easy path for the creation of content that can be mindlessly consumed and viral solely through the novelty of it defying reality, rather than it being attributable to actual skill or effort on the creator's part. AI content, now widely referred to as slop, is neither compelling nor inspiring. The gorilla vlogs, the knives cutting incomprehensible objects, it's all tuned towards brainless novelty and content consumption purely for its own sake. Low-hanging fruit created and designed to trigger the dopamine to keep you watching, and for no other reason. Blech. In the early days of AI art, which is a year,
And it worked. I think, like, that's the problem. It works on people. I will fully admit that, like, I'm sure I've stopped to watch an AI video, like it's so hard to, like, it's getting harder and harder to tell these days, but I'm not gonna sit here and say that I've never been duped by an AI video. I don't know. It's possible. I don't think I have, but who knows? And I'm sure that, like, I definitely have stopped to watch, like, simple low-hanging fruit videos. I don't think they were AI, but I do understand the desire to watch that kind of content, especially if you're, like, under the influence of something and just kind of vibing. I get it. Like, I get it. Trust me. But it is just the worst. I can't even. There's no other way to describe it. It's just the worst shit ever.
year or two ago, reaction to AI generated art and images had a wow factor that was always going to be temporary. Now the novelty's worn off, and what's left isn't the result of people using this technology to push the envelope or inspire or elevate art. On the contrary, it's cultivated a kind of widespread skepticism. And now human artists are faced with two challenges: to cultivate their craft and share their work in a world already oversaturated with content and now slop, and to justify and prove that they actually made it. A task that is becoming harder and harder every day. It also creates a
No, because I've seen this on Twitter where people are like, get called out for having AI art, and then they have to prove that they made it, and then you still have people being like, well, your art style's really similar to AI, and it's like, motherfucker, which one came first? Which one do we think came first? Because I'm willing to bet it wasn't the AI. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that the art style came first, and AI is mimicking it. Shocker. So it's like, what? It's, it's like people who are like, oh, your art looks really similar to AI. Well, maybe it's because AI literally mimics art, people make and steals it, and like literally that's what it does. That's its whole thing. It's people are getting dumber too. Oh,
A landscape that serves to disincentivize people from starting a creative journey. Because if this is where it leads, who cares? Like, why try? And by elevating technical outcome as the be-all and end-all, we diminish the journey and the beauty in flawed and imperfect creations that are a necessary part of that journey. So now great and noteworthy art is vastly in the minority and is seen with a level of suspicion that devalues art because of AI. While I was writing this video, I heard someone in the next room say they assume
like, this is not a perfect example, but you can honestly just take my videos, for example. I've been doing this a year, right? And I'm still not good at this by any means. I don't think my videos are fantastic. But if you looked at my videos a year ago, you will see the increase in quality. You will see that there has been an increase in quality, in my confidence, in my editing, in how I make my videos and what I do with them. So there is that. And I just like that's like part of it's the same with, you know, with like art, with like drawing or any other sort of art. It's just taking the time to put in the effort, and you can see the improvement the more you do it. The more you realize what works and what doesn't work.
everything is AI unless it's provable that it's not. I experienced this myself with shocking, disgusting realization when I saw the trailer to the upcoming film Wildwood. Because this very opening frame, just this split second when I was flicking through TikTok, my brain went, ugh, AI. And I could have kept scrolling. But if I did, I would have missed something really special, because what actually proceeded to play before me was one of the most inspiring displays of craft and artistry I'd ever seen. Go watch the trailer to Wildwood. It's f***ing amazing. It looks so good, and it makes me really want to try stop motion to a more ambitious extent. At the end of watching the whole trailer, which thank God I stayed to watch, I was like, oh, good.
There are still craftspeople out there.
But it broke my heart that my gut reaction to the split second first moment of seeing it was of a lack of trust, was of skepticism. And that alone is harmful to art and creators. In short, I now believe that generative AI does not empower art or people's creative journeys. Rather, it's largely acting as a poison to it.
I believe AI art is intertwined with the future of art as a whole.
I would agree with that statement with one minor change. AI is intertwined with the future of content. And while art can be content, the current content landscape has a very different motivation and influence than art does. Where art is empowered by connection and context and communication, content is motivated by the algorithmic retention of attention, which is converted into views and engagement, the final destination for which is money. Now, I can't spit acid at this process. At the end of the day, it's my job. I'm a content creator. But when we're looking at the conversation about AI and art, we kind of need to step outside of the art framework for just a second. Because the reason trillions of dollars has been thrown at AI isn't because these billionaires think investors think AI will elevate humanity. It's because they believe the pursuit of superpowered AI at its core is the pursuit of limitless power and limitless wealth. That's why they're rushing with limitless recklessness.
I think it is meaningful and useful to use AI as an art making machine because art makes people think, makes people feel, and helps people talk about and engage about the human experience. AI can be used to help us navigate this next stage.
Oh, my sweet summer child. If I can come to the defense of my past self here, it's that my arguments were both limited by the lack of learning and resources and evidence apparent in the outcomes that we are all witnessing now, but also that my determined technological optimism was founded on my own lens and motivations for the use of AI art. Because if I had superpowered technology, I would use it to create art and empower creatives. But generative AI is not an art-making machine. It's a content-making machine. And as we've covered, the kinds of people interested in using a content-making machines aren't typically artists.
I do think that's a good way of putting it, is that it is a content-making machine as opposed to an art-making machine. And that is definitely demonstrated in just the amount of AI slop channels that are out there. AI YouTube like pages, AI Facebook pages. It's just, it's made to it's like you said earlier, it's made to be the lowest hanging fruit that just kind of quickly satisfies that like dopamine receptor, and you don't get much else out of it. I don't know. I've said for a while that I think that the cons far outweigh the pros when it comes to AI and generative AI. And I stand by that. I still stand by that. I will die on this hill if I have to. And lucky for me, people are coming around. I am still, I have friends who are interested in AI and stuff, and I try to discourage them. I try to be like, hey, maybe don't. Maybe try something new. Maybe try a different topic, a different category. Does it have to be AI? I think it does have its uses. We're getting outside of generative AI for making art, quote unquote, or content like this, but I think that there are certain things where it can be useful. Like, one of my friends uses it for note taking, so I guess that's probably useful. Personally, I don't think I would find it very useful as far as note taking. I don't know. I'll sometimes use a speech to text, but I don't necessarily consider that AI, even though I guess it technically is. But that's like an actual useful tool that has, benefits for people, especially for people who maybe can't type for whatever reason. So there is a usefulness there. But for generative AI for making pictures or videos or that kind of thing, there's no real use, and I get the ick when people do it. Like, my friend's boyfriend posted a picture of them as kids, but it was an AI picture of them as kids. Like, it had taken a picture of him as a kid and her as a kid and put it together, and it was just like, I guess that's sweet. I guess that's cute. I don't know. If someone did that for me, I would be like, "Oh, don't ever do that again." I appreciate the sentiment, but I really need you to never do that again, okay? Cool. Oh my god. I don't want my I don't want to give AI my images at all, but especially not images of me as a kid. I'm not a kid anymore, but I don't want it doing anything weird with my images, you know? Like, stay away from me. Get away. Get away.
and what they produce generally can't rightly be called art. So who is this content making machine for? Who does it benefit, if not artists? Well, surely content creators. Well, to a limited and short-term degree, yes. It cuts the time and capital expenditure that might be spent on artists. But even if you don't care about paying or crediting artists or even the quality of your output, content creators who lean and participate in the proliferation of AI are killing their own future without knowing it by flooding platforms and fatiguing viewers with slop that in the end, even their AI content will drown in the noise of. So if generative AI isn't for artists and it isn't actually really in content for creators in the long term, who is it for? Billionaires and corporations. The big sell for corporations, of course, is cost cutting. You get to spend less on humans who you lean on to create your products and services. And we see McDonald's and Coca-Cola leaping as soon as possible to create vast ad campaigns leaning on generative AI. Artists like Taylor Swift leaning on generative AI to promote her latest album. And the irony is insane when, at the end of the day, these are the people that can most afford to pay artists. AI.
Taylor Swift using it is crazy. Come on, dude. Come on. Oh my god. No, but like, at this point, like, it is truly just like, corporations and stuff are the people who can most afford to pay it. You can most afford to pay for an artist. And they just don't want to, right? They don't want to. They want to replace human labor and all that shit. And make it even harder for artists to earn a living. Because once again, these people don't respect artists. They don't respect art. They don't care if artists go hungry because there's no work for them to do because they give it all to AI. They don't care about art. They don't care.
AI in its current state is built on capitalism, and capitalism doesn't care about people, let alone art. It cares about capital. My favorite comparison of AI is from Mary Making Noise on TikTok, who put it simply,
And some of you want to act like children. Let me put this in a way you might understand. AI is a need. It's being sold to you as this magical tool that can do anything, when in reality, it's a piece of junk that is ruining everything good and natural about the world.
If you don't understand this reference, I highly recommend doing yourself a favor and reading The Lorax by Dr. Seuss, but replace the word thneed with AI content. It's a perfect comparison.
That is a pretty good comparison, I can't lie to you. Because there's no, like, there's no real basis for this either. There's no evidence that's like, this is how AI works, and it really works in all of these avenues, and it's really reliable, and all this other stuff. In fact, we know it's not reliable. We see evidence every day to the contrary. So, how does that work exactly? It doesn't. It doesn't. Be open-minded and optimistic. It has been years. At this point, we're done being open-minded and optimistic, okay? Y'all had your chance to prove us wrong. Y'all had your chance to sell AI to me, and you didn't sell it. In fact, you made me hate it more. You put me off of it even more. That is how bad AI is. It's so unreliable. One of my favorite pastimes, actually, as of late, this is the only good thing to come from AI, is going through Grok's replies on Twitter and just seeing how often it fucks something up and how often it, like, gives incorrect information or gives some bullshit response, or how often someone is trying to use it to be racist or that kind of thing. you can get a really good understanding of how people use AI and how people are using these things by just looking at Grok and looking at people's interactions with Grok on Twitter. It is genuinely an incredible experience. um be warned though, because some people really do like to use Grok to identify adult actors in a adult certain actors in adult films, you know what I mean? They like to use Grok to identify that, so be careful, be forewarned if you're gonna go through Grok's replies. You will probably see something you didn't want to see.
So we're about to see a massive overhaul, and I think it's really important that we talk about it, that we're really open-minded and earnest and honest, but I believe also it's really important that we're optimistic and that we work towards the good of humanity.
Finally, something I still agree with. I see it slightly differently now, but let's go with it. We are going through a massive overhaul, and I still think it's important that we're open-minded and honest and earnest. And even with all the negative crap we've trudged through so far, I still see some cause for optimism. I believe the general reception for this vast inundation of AI slop is largely negative and fatigued, and one where consumers demand that the value of art and artists be upheld, and one where I have reliably been able to feel like I can see from the comments when something is AI. And it's not viciously said, it's just informed, and that's helpful to me. I wish the platforms would do that. They sometimes do, it's hit and miss. But the point is, all in all, people want to be aware when what they're consuming is AI, because people want to be in control of what they consume and be aware of where it's coming from. It really reminds me of like progress with consumer awareness in regards to animal welfare. Like knowing the conditions in space and living standards that the food that you're consuming comes from. Recently, MrBeast launched his own platform upon which he had an AI YouTube thumbnail generation tool. And this was met with immediate and firm backlash. People voiced their frustration at the fact that this tool would take away human work that could do a better job of this, and also that, frankly, the outcome would, if successful,
Like, I make not great thumbnails, okay? My thumbnails are... I try. I try. I do my best. But they come out looking not great sometimes. They come out looking a little rough, a little ramshod, you know? I can't lie to you. But I would never turn to AI to do it, because I'd rather just have my shitty looking thumbnail. Okay, I'd rather just have my shitty looking thumbnail, because at the end of the day, it's still mine. It's my shitty looking thumbnail. Nobody else's. And I'll take that, you know? I'll take what I have to take. I'm fine with that.
just continue to fill their platform with more of the same slop, just in thumbnail form. And it was this public's response which caused MrBeast to disable this AI tool and publicly acknowledge that the tool was fundamentally hurtful to creators as a whole. That's a good outcome that was achieved by the response from a cultural...
Which, by the way, I think we need to all take a little note of old Jimmy trying to do that shit there, and just recognize, once again, Jimmy does not care about anybody but himself, okay? Jimmy is not the selfless person that people like to paint him as. He does not care about anything but his bottom line. He gets to do things that make people act like he's, you know, a philanthropist who's helping people, who's doing it out of the goodness of his heart, blah, blah, blah. That's not the case. That is not the case at all. I see you. I see you, Jimmy.
understanding and agreement that has developed from people who were jointly fatigued by the unrelenting proliferation of AI slop in their content feeds. This and other examples like it show that if there are enough people who want to limit the ever-grasping reach of AI, that we can push back with some degree of success.
Artificial intelligence will evolve to be no less than the next phase of humanity.
I agree. AI will definitely define our next phase of humanity. The outcome is unknown, and it will...
I agree as well, especially the way things are going in America. The Trump administration has been attempting to push AI. On some level, they have been. On other levels, they haven't really been implementing it as much as they seem to claim that they are. Like, they keep pushing it really hard, but when you actually go to, like, look up what they've actually done, there's not a whole lot of information out there. So, yes, they are definitely pushing it pretty hard, but also they're not implementing it as fast as some of their other shit that they're doing. But he still has 3 years. We're only 1 year in. He's got time to fuck it all up.
Likely take place over a roller coaster of events, including possible complete economic collapse, if, of course, AI is the bubble that many experts say it is. So, I'm not optimistic or trusting by default anymore, but I believe in being open-minded now as much as I did 3 years ago, and I think it's clear that I meant it when I said that I believed in being open-minded, because, well, I changed my mind. Which means if I'm no longer for generative AI and I'm in fact against it, then I must ask, what would it take for me to once again change my mind and be open to being for it? Well, generative AI is just a subset of AI as a whole. So in order to share what I think AI art would need to be for me to accept it, I would need to step out into talking about what AI as a whole would need to be. Bear with me, because I think this is going to start to push at the edges of believability. I believe for AI to truly serve humanity, it needs to be guarded against unrestrained capital pursuit. So take, for example, the strides being...
Yeah, that's never happening. Oh, you're funny. You're funny, babe. Hey, yo, oh, that's cute. Oh, no, like, that's never happening. That's never happening. We would have to end capitalism. As long as capitalism is in play here, it will get its grubby little hands and hooks into every little thing. There will be no safe haven. There's just... That's just a fact. I don't know what else to tell you. That's not happening. That's unfortunate.
Made in the world of medicine. Google is developing AI models of identifying cancer at least as good as professional oncologists, and more recently, one of its models helped develop a method of turning cold tumors hot, which could in theory lead to much earlier identification and treatment of cancer. Now, this is still untested to a great extent, but we've also seen massive strides with AI-dependent surgical robots, which have the near-term potential to perform complex and minute surgeries with more precision than human surgeons. Now, while of course there's capital incentive behind the layers of this stuff, at the end of the day, the core motivation of the AI that's being produced and developed here shares the same goal as the medical field it's entering, and that is successful surgery and treatment and diagnosis of diseases. Now, that's all still very early days, but it hints at some of the cool possibilities of things that could revolutionize medicine and science, for example. But then we face another problem. What about the doctors and the scientists? If AI is going to do it better? Regardless of what industry we're looking at, in the end, we are all...
I think in those circumstances, it's a little bit less of a labor issue, and I could be naive in this regard, but I say that because I think that you're never going to fully replace a doctor. I think that ultimately AI is never going to be better than a doctor at diagnosing a problem and prescribing a solution for it. I do think that there will always need to be a level of influence from the doctor, from a nurse, from a medical professional. AI can be a very good tool in the medical field, but I think it's a tool that has to be used by other people and not necessarily a replacement for the doctor itself. Again, I could be naive, but I think that's just a harder thing because you're not going to send AI to med school, you know? And there are things in med school that you learn that aren't just necessarily about the logic of, that aren't necessarily just about the knowledge of what you're doing, of what, like, you're treating. It's not necessarily about, like, the knowledge that you're getting from the textbook. There are other things that also play into being a doctor that you're also learning that also just requires a human element to it. So I don't think that when it comes to medicine or science that you're going to replace the human as easily as you can when it comes to art or something like that. Because art's more about your opinion, you know, it's more about what people think is good or what people want to consume, and that can change and that can be influenced. Whereas in science and medicine, there are things that are cold hard things that cannot be changed and cannot be influenced. And I think AI is going to struggle with those things. I think AI needs a little bit of wiggle room to get its agenda across, to make itself seem useful. It needs to be able to sort of make mistakes without there being severe consequences. And that doesn't happen in medicine. Like, you're gonna have a lot harder time making a severe mistake in the medical field, in medical practice, than you are when doing art. Your mistake is gonna be more noticeable, it's gonna be more consequential. So I do think it's a little bit different, but that's not to say that there isn't the risk of people being replaced, but I do think it's just a little bit less of a concern.
Always going to face the problematic payoff of the promise of AI. If AI can replace all human labor, then income simply cannot be tied to human labor for its value. Even the most ardent capitalist will eventually have to face the problem of AI empowering late-stage capitalism, and that is, once you've cut all your expenses and replaced all your workers, how are people going to afford your products? Because they don't have jobs. I believe that a world which effectively replaces human labor with AI must be a world which guarantees income and basic human necessities in order to function. At the very least, some kind of universal basic income, which ardent capitalists hate because it sounds an awful lot like socialism. And yet we all know that capitalism is just selective socialism. This seems to have got very political, but at the end of the day, AI art is
AI, and AI is intrinsically tied with politics and humanity. So,
how might generative AI look if it were actually an overall good part of our future. I could imagine something like a tax, or if you hate the word, license, where powerful Gen AI tools are freely available to businesses and people, but the works that are produced with them or the businesses that use them are required to contribute a chunk of the profit to a resource pool that is then redistributed to universal basic income or to verified human art projects. And in that sort of scenario, AI is then actually empowering people. And the fact that it's built on the skill of humans gone by actually is contributing to an overall greater good. If it's contributing to everyone's financial well-being and sustainability and actually empowering the leisurely pursuit of art, while limiting people who would use generative AI's ability to exploit the work of others for financial gain. Because in a system like that, successful work produced with generative AI would be contributing back into the system that is feeding people. I'm not an economist or a historian or expert in any degree, but there are certainly systems that don't exist and may not even be realistic, at least not today, that are worth talking about and thinking about. It's hard to, because we can't really imagine anything like that being possible with systems set up as they currently are. But the systems of today are proving quite fragile. And if they fail or need to be repaired or replaced by something, the more we discuss these difficult things together, the better educated and empowered we can be to organize and collectively demand that the system that replaces it is built to properly cater to humanity. In a future where labor is an option and where art doesn't have to be commercially viable to be pursued.
I will say that is a nice dream. I mean, I can definitely I can agree with that sort of position of if AI were allowing people to basically live a life free of the concern of labor and providing for oneself, and they were then able to pursue art in a leisurely fashion as opposed to on a survival basis. I could be behind AI in that regard. I mean, I'd still have concerns about the environmental effect and that kind of thing, but from a position of just making, I guess, the world, getting us to a place like that, I could, yeah, sure. If it were a tool that could be used in that way, I would support it. It's not though. It's not though. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. Um, yeah, I don't know. AI it's interesting. I will say this. Any concerns that I ever had about an AM like situation happening, like a I have no mouth and I must scream taking over, basically, have died. I no longer fear that reality. I am no longer concerned for the safety of humans when it comes to AI because AI is stupid. It's dumb. It's real dumb. It's not that smart. It's real stupid. I don't see it coming together to take us all, to kill us all and torture a bunch of us. I don't see that happening. I don't see AM happening. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, hey AM, I didn't mean it. You're cool, buddy. Let's hang out. But I don't know. But I don't see it happening. I think we're safe from that outcome at the very least.
This video has been uncharacteristically long, but I will try and keep it brief. Here is my current stance on generative AI as of the very end of 2025. I hate AI in content. It's gross and tiring, but it's here, and some people do like it, so what do? I don't think we should.
It's gross, and people are using it for actual nefarious shit. Like, it's not just being used for silly content. You've got people making fake videos to push certain narratives and certain political agendas and that kind of thing. And it's just being used to straight up lie to people in an environment that is already full of lies, full of misinformation. And now you have people being able to make videos and images that are, to some people, indistinguishable from the real thing. And that is really where my real problem with AI lies. Like, obviously there's the ethical sort of philosophical question of what is art and my opinions on that, but it really does come down to, we need more protections in place against people being able to just make fake AI videos of people doing shit and putting it out there. Like, we need more protection in that regard, because as it stands right now, critical thinking, all-time low, the anti-intellectual movement won, people are dumb again, and people aren't really taking the time to parse what is real and what is not, and they end up falling for AI videos. And until we can get past that, we really gotta lock this shit down. We gotta give something to make it so that people aren't having that problem. But they're not doing that, and that makes me really sad.
Shame or vilify people who do use AI. This only serves to further divide us and incentivizes people who use generative AI to be misleading and avoid disclosure. I honestly don't mind AI as a non-commercial toy for generating ideas or effectively mood boarding. I mean, you can't escape using AI as a mood board anyway, because you Google something and half the Google
Yeah, that's where I'm like, I don't really care if you're using it in your own home, doing shit in your private, whatever, using it for whatever idea. But the moment you start trying to, like, push that as your own shit, or push that as something that you've made, I start to think it's like, oh, it's not really the case, though, is it? But yeah, as long as you are just kind of, I don't know, doing whatever in your own home, what am I gonna do? It's your own home. Like it's the same principle I apply to most things when it comes to the private of your own home. As long as you're not hurting anybody, it's like, do whatever, live your life. It's your home. You're not bothering me.
images or anything on Pinterest is already generative AI. It's frustrating and annoying as hell. And as such, I really don't think there's any point in shaming people who do use generative AI to generate ideas, but I don't condone it being used at any point in the production of the outcome of art. A fun example is this TikTok creator who I really enjoy, who doesn't create AI content of glass food, but reacts to it by actually making the glass food in reality. And that's really freaking cool. I mean, there's an example of how you can roll with the punch and use it to motivate your craft. I mean, as a result of her videos, I really want to try the glass sculpting thing. It just looks so cool. And it's probably way harder than it looks, but God, the results are satisfying. But that's as far as my comfort currently extends, especially based on my newfound understanding and changed opinions on AI. And I think it's important that we keep a level of social pressure at play which demands accountability and the valuation of humanity in the things that we produce. My wish list for responsible generative AI would be that AI needs to be regulated across the board in how data centers are made, and that those who built them must be made to do so in a way that is responsible and sustainable, in how AI models are trained and how AI content is distributed. I mean, I want inbuilt watermarks that are invisible so people who want to opt out of AI in their content feed can reliably. I mean, we have content safety options for things that contain violence and sex. I believe AI content should be treated with the same level of importance because we're dealing with things that are arguably even more impactful to the long-term health of society. And I believe it's imperative that the trust and safety that generative AI has already aggressively dismantled be rebuilt. We need proper incentive for the regulation of fake online accounts that are controlled by troll farms to simply create noise and division and aggression in social media spaces, with proper guardrails and consequences for companies that don't protect their users from fake accounts and from fake content. And while we're building our dream wish list for AI to be required to only use renewable and clean energy in its production, which would rapidly accelerate the importance of these things in the market overall, the result of which would benefit everyone. And of course, something like a universal basic income, which would be required as a safety net in a society which no longer requires human labor. Do I think this list is likely? At this point, not really, but I do think it's more likely the more we talk about it and the more we're open to uncomfortable discussions.
So I really want to hear your opinions in the comments down below. I know my opinions are very overdramatic and I want to temper them and be really reasonable in how I approach a future piece of content where I try and put it all in one place and package it in a way that everyone feels that they have a voice. And we can honestly and earnestly look at artificial intelligence, its impact on...
I do also want to say that I do appreciate this video from a sort of, I don't know how to put this, exposure therapy kind of point of view when it comes to certain ideas that people who maybe watch his videos don't get all the time. Like, simply put, my sort of philosophy is that we do need to talk more about certain political ideas, certain ways of doing things, you know. I mean, like, just talking about a universal basic income, that's something that a lot of people probably don't even know what that is, or like have never even really considered that. And so I think putting that in this video as an idea and just possibly introducing that to some people is definitely like a good thing. I don't think that's like I think that's definitely a good thing. That's definitely like a positive. And something I appreciate, because I appreciate people having a political position and not being afraid to sort of input that political position into their work, even if they aren't making necessarily political work. Because we do live in a very apolitical environment, a very, oh, I'm a centrist, while actually having some pretty hardcore opinions on things and not really being a centrist. Like, how many content creators can you think of right now who would probably identify as a centrist, but you would probably look at them and say, yeah, you might be a little right-wing, or you might be a little to the left, and you would probably not be like, you're a centrist. It's usually people on the right who identify as a centrist, though. I don't think I've ever really seen anybody who is more to the left being like, oh, I'm a centrist. It's usually people who are more to the right and who kind of know that their opinions are off-putting and they want to appeal to a more wide variety of people. So they'll pretend that they're more of a centrist, that they're, you know, just common sense, just in the middle, unbiased, open to things, whatever. When in reality, they do have their bias, they do have their politics, they're just not letting you know what they are. And I appreciate people being more open about their politics and about, like, certain things that they think might work or things that they think might not work. I do appreciate that.
art and how to navigate that moving forward.
I haven't always been right, and I don't claim to be right about everything now, but I have always been listening, and I really appreciate those of you who even might have disagreed with me in the past but stuck around and engaged in the conversation while making room for me to simply be in a different place to your thinking at the time. And I think that is one of the most critical things that we can do moving forward. We are all on the same side. We are all people who are going to be impacted by how this all shapes out. And if we work together, even if at times we disagree with each other, that will be the thing that will give us the most power to have a voice in a shared future, which is currently in a rocky place and which matters to all of us. And likewise, If you don't agree with stuff I've said in this video, or you think I've gone in the wrong direction, please talk about it in the comments, and I trust everyone who's going to participate in that to be respectful, because at the end of the day, we're all on the same team.
Team Humanity!
And if you want to support Team Humanity, go to jazzstudios.com. There's 50% off of all digital products. It really is a huge and direct support to me and my family and this studio, who are all humans and don't use generative AI. We make art with our hands and our hearts. And from my heart to you, thank you so much for watching. I wish you all the very best in 2026. Who knows what lies ahead of us? But what I do know is that we're all in this together. Also, shout out to Nakey Jakey.
Oh god, not a High School Musical reference, bro. Oh no. It's time for a High School Musical rewatch. It's time. I gotta get my best friend, and I gotta get her to let me come over, and we gotta watch High School Musical. If you're watching this, I know she's not, but if you're watching this, there's a chance she could be. If you're watching this, get fucking ready, bitch. We're watching High School Musical. It's time. It's been years. We gotta do it. You know what time it is. Need to do it. God, I would love to do a video about High School Musical someday. I'm not even lying to you. I would love to do just... I have opinions on that fucking franchise, boy. Ooh, just sparked some things in my brain. God damn. Okay,
Should have said this earlier in the video, but I feel like I might do all of my future videos like this. I think he's really onto something. Whee!
Okay. Alright. That's the video. And I am probably going to wrap the stream up, because it is a little bit... That was a bit longer than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, that was really good, actually. I really enjoyed that because it is good to see someone do, like, a video about AI that basically says everything that I've wanted to say about AI art and that kind of thing. And basically what I wanted to say in my video, but just did not have the stones, so to speak, to make a longer video and really dig in deep on that. I'm trying to get better at doing that. That is something that is kind of a goal of mine in the new year, is getting better at making longer videos. But I'm gonna be honest with you, my real problem is I don't have a proper setup. So a little bit of a behind the scenes baseball here. I am currently sitting on the floor in my basement with my laptop and a second monitor, okay? And I have a detached keyboard and my mouse, and that's it. I don't have a chair. I have a desk chair, but I don't have a desk, so I don't have a proper setup that's like everything set up and working properly. And I actually have like a back support. That's the real thing. I don't have a good back support, so it's hard for me to sit and do long periods of editing and work because it's not good for my back. It's really not good for my back. But in the new year, I'm gonna try and hopefully maybe get a desk, get my room cleaned up a little bit here, get this set up more professional. Or at least make it so that I can use my stupid my chair that I've had forever. But I really did just want to watch this video because I have had a lot of opinions on AI art specifically, especially coming out of the New York City mayoral election. We saw Cuomo's team use AI in that quite a bit to target Zoran, and it felt very gross. Obviously, it was very gross, but it just felt very like it had gone past a layer, like it had gone past a line of acceptableness. Like it was very much like, okay, this is a new era that we are entering, and we need to get ahead of this. We need to get to a point where people recognize these sort of dangers of AI art, of people using it in elections and using it just to push misinformation in general. That has been something that has really bothered me. And seeing people end up in these AI psychosis things, which is another topic but kind of related. AI has definitely been an interest of mine for a little bit now, and I suspect it will continue to be. But I did really want to watch this video, and I really just wanted to talk about it a little bit and get into it. So I appreciate you watching this with me. I appreciate you watching this with me, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching this later on YouTube, then please do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. That would be great. Leave a comment, let me know what you think about all of this, and that's really it. So I am going to wrap this all up and get on with the evening. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and please take care of yourself. Free Palestine, free Sudan, and goodbye.